when is your very next memory of John Burroughs?
When the light on the craft started to generate to a more white, brilliant light is when I backed away from the craft. John was maybe 15 feet away, 20 feet away, standing there.
Because you were afraid of what was happening with this increasing light?
I wasn't sure what it was going to do. I don't know, explode, or the craft lifted off the forest floor, went to treetop level, and took off an extreme raised speed, and nothing that I know of could be gone in a blink of an eye. I had this feeling, and the feeling was that there would be a return sometime of that craft. I don't know, it was just a very odd thought.
So that's December 26th after midnight. Now, before we go to John himself, let's listen to what Colonel Halt described about the beam of light that came down only a few feet from him.
The object stopped overhead and sent down a beam. The best way I can describe it is a laser beam, because the light did not radiate out like a normal light would do. It came straight down and fell at our feet, and we were quite concerned. The light was a very bright white light, probably 15, 20 inches in diameter when it hit the ground. It was right in front of us, less than 10 feet or 15 feet away.
What happened at that moment?
We stood there in awe, trying to, is it a signal? Is it a warning? Is it a method of communication? What do we do? And we just stood there for, 5, 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, and it was gone. I mean, it disappeared as suddenly as it appeared. It was so shocking that, wow. At the same time, we were picking up radio signals, continuously having problems with our radios on all 3 frequencies we were on from the weapons storage area, and they were indicating that they were over there. We could see objects in the sky over there. And I've later learned that there were some technicians from communication squadron working in the tower, as well as the tower operator, that observed some very strange things as far as lights and objects.
Do you know for a fact with your own eyes that you were seeing a beam come down in the general area of the weapons storage area?
I could see something, yes. There are multiple objects in the sky at that time, at least 4, if not 5 or more.
Were they all white?
No, they changed color. They changed shape from round to elliptical.
Colors?
Red, blue, and green, I think. Gosh, when the thing went overhead and the light approached us, stopped overhead, and it sent a beam down. Oh, my God, we all went into shock almost. How am I ever going to explain this? Nobody's going to believe this. This is a kiss of death for my career.
And he says that to this day. And now he's mentioned that WSA tower operator. And just recently I was able to talk with the man who was up there. He was in 50 feet up in the WSA tower, looking over where the big top secret of nuke weapons was. And he was Sergeant Rick Bobo. And Sergeant Bobo's priority was to report any threat to that WSA. He could call Broken Arrow, he could call Helping Hand, he could call anything. And if that occurred in an official way, it would have been an entire RAF Woodbridge Bantwaters event. Well, that night, he watched a large reddish blue light in the sky that hovered stationary for nearly 2 hours. And he watched from this huge reddish blue light that he compared to the size of a full moon, a little light come down out of it. And twice he called Central Security Control, and twice he is told it's being taken care of. Well, the being taken care of is apparently what he was also hearing on the radio, which was Colonel Halt and all of the men in Rendlesham Forest. But from Rick Bobo's point of view, this is one big thing, and it's near the WSA. What is it going to do, and why doesn't anybody come and deal with it there? Today, Rick Bobo is 52 years old and works in the Indiana Department of Transportation, the state in which he was born and raised. When Rick Bobo graduated from high school in 1975, there was a recession, jobs were scarce, and the next year he enlisted in the U.S. Air Force. He was sent to Lackland, Texas for basic training and ended up at RAF Bantwaters in early 1980. Recently, I talked with Rick Bobo by phone about what he saw and heard during his D-Flight security shift in the Bentwaters WSA Tower on what we think must have been after midnight on December 28, 1980. Here is Rick Bobo.
It looked really big, and there was red and blue, and I did see something come down from it and went down into the woods.
Was the big light still up in the air and something went?
Oh, yes, yes.
So it's up in the air and something went from it down into Rendlesham
Yes.
Forest.
Yes.
Okay, and how long were you able to see that reddish blue large light?
Oh, goodness. It was there a long time.
Was there something about it that was highly strange in comparison to terrestrial lights?
It just sat there. It didn't go anywhere. It just sat in one spot. I think you could have put a crosshair on it and it never would have moved.
Wow.
Never wavered.
Well, Rick, did you ever see any beams of light come down from the bluish-red large light into either the Bentwaters weapons storage area, RAF Woodbridge weapons storage?
Nothing came into Bentwaters. Just so you know that. Nothing came into the Bentwaters storage area.
And why I'm asking about the beam down into the Bentwaters weapons storage area with nuclear weapons, Colonel Halt said that during that night, when they were in the forest, they had a beam come down very close to them, and he said it looked like in the distance, in the direction of the Bentwaters WSA, more beams were being shot down then as well.
Not into the WSA.
Okay. Well, that's an important piece.
I was in the tower. It didn't happen. It may have appeared so from where he was. I could see that. But nothing came in that WSA. Not unless it took all memory of it away from all of us that were in there.
I understand what you're saying.
Because it would not have been a small thing. It would have been a rather large thing to have happened. I did have some radio traffic that I could catch. I could hear him talking about things in the woods and, lights in the woods and things bumping in the trees.
Do you think it was Colonel Halt's investigation?
It was somebody investigating. I couldn't tell you who was absolutely there. I believe Burroughs was out there at the time. I think they even had Geiger counters out there.
Well, it sounds that this occurred on the night that Colonel Halt and Monroe Nevels was there from Emergency Preparedness, and Lieutenant Bruce England from B Flight, and Sergeant Adrian Bastinza from D Flight. John Burroughs was there. A lot of people were there, and that sounds like this is the night that you saw this object.
Well, it probably was. And there was somebody that came up in my tower, but I don't know who he was. I don't know where he was from. I don't know what organization he was with. He came up looking through a scope. I didn't get to look at the scope. I don't know who he was or what department he was with. I could make an assumption, but it would just be an assumption.
What would your assumption be?
OSI.
Was he civilian or Air Force dressed?
No, he was military. I just don't know what department he was from.
Okay. What kind of scope was he looking at the red-blue light with?
It's like a spotting scope, which would have given very good magnification.
Did he make any comments to you?
No, he didn't speak.
Wow.
Well, he didn't speak.
You tried to speak.
I'm sure I tried to speak, but he didn't. So what do you do?
Well, did you try to explain to him that you had seen a light leave the big red-blue light and go
I'm sure
down?
I gave him every bit of information I had. Nobody else came up the tower. I had to let him up because I had my gate closed. Nobody could come up without me allowing it.
How long did he stay there?
15, 20 minutes maybe.
And when he left, he just left and didn't say anything to you?
So he just left. Gone.
And no one ever debriefed you?
No one ever spoke to me. Matter of fact, nobody had ever contacted me after I got out of the service. Even the guys that seen it the same time I did. We never talked to each other.
Do you remember somebody telling you, don't talk about any of this?
No. Nobody talked to me about it. I'm telling you, nobody spoke to me about it at all.
Amazing.
Yeah. I thought it was a little odd, but, you know, when you're in the service, you just do what you're told.
And the absence of interaction with these people from C flight to D flight, no one talking with Rick Bobo, even though he had called Central Security Control twice on a huge object that was emitting light down into the forest, indicates that there was this effort. If you don't comment on it, it's not real. If you tell everybody it is a lighthouse in Mars, then that is what is supposed to make it go away. But John Burroughs is still haunted by what happened in the Rendlesham Forest, December 26th and December 28th, 1980. He is especially troubled by the fact that he cannot consciously remember what happened when he was close to the lights both nights. He knows what Penniston and Holt say. Here is an illustration that he did with John Rackham in England that shows Bustinza on the ground and John going into, or a light coming over him, because John talked with Adrian Bustinza later, after that night of December 28th, and Adrian Bustinza, depicted on the ground here, said, quote, "The lights pushed me to the ground, and I saw the red-orange light on top of you." John knows all the rumors about his jumping on a craft or being taken up in a beam of light and missing time. He still has strange dreams, can't sleep, and feels like something in his mind wants to come out. In 2008, John Burroughs contacted me about his anxieties and said he wondered if I could find some help through hypnosis. We're working on that. Some of you have seen a long program in which we have gone into some work with John. But what I'm going to do now is give you a brief background on him and then introduce my friend and colleague. John Burroughs was born in Bloomington, Illinois in 1960 and joined the U.S. Air Force right after high school graduation. He received orders to go to RAF Bentwaters, England, and arrived in July 1979, about 18 months before the highly strange Rendlesham Forest encounters. John remained in the Air Force until his retirement in 2006 as a tech sergeant. Right from the beginning, John Burroughs and Sergeant Jim Penniston saw what they could not explain, and something happened to their minds, either in the forest, in military interrogations, later on, or both. The results have been blank or confused memories. The two men were right next to each other in the forest, but do not remember the same details. And I now want to introduce my friend, colleague, and the former RAF Bentwaters Airman First Class, John Burroughs, to tell you what he does remember.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Linda Howe, because there's been a lot of different people that have done work on this, but she's continuing to work. And if you want to talk about disclosure, she's given the opportunity today for a lot of people that have never been able to talk about this to come and go on the record. And we're continuing to work on trying to get people that were there that have a story to tell that were never talked to the opportunity to come forward and talk about it. And now Linda's going to ask me some quick questions.
Can you tell them, when you look at this drawing that you did yourself, do you even remember doing this in 2010?
The drawing itself was what I was asked to do by Colonel Hall to give to Colonel Conrad along with my statement. Sergeant Penniston and Airman Kabansek were also asked to do the same thing. The drawing is clearly my drawing, but through the entire time from the very beginning till to this day, I can't give you exactly what we encountered and what we saw. So that was just the best that I could do on what we came up upon.
Could you tell the audience, can you hit that middle space bar Just hit the space bar and we'll go to the, yeah, here's the computer illustration. Could you explain to the audience what you